Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now.
Welcome everyone to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, we have a man passionate about helping B2B sales teams scale their revenue engine. He founded Ebsta, the revenue intelligence platform for Salesforce and HubSpot customers, which delivers real-time forecasting tools and uses engagement trends to benchmark your sales pipeline. He's a family man, enthusiastic skier. We will not hold it against him that he's a Tottenham Hotspurs football fan. It's just something that he's about. You'll notice it's all in the colors in the room. And he loves spending time with people like him that want to change the world. Thrive Loud listeners, I bring you Guy Rubin. Guy, welcome to Thrive Loud.
Lou, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I love people who come up with problem-solving technologies, but I always like to understand exactly how this happened. Guy, I don't want to go all the way back to the womb. If you could, give me like the fast-forward version on how the current gig that you've been, because you've been doing this now for about 12 years. I know you founded Ebsta back in 2012. How did this world of business become the focus of what you do?
Well, thank you for the lovely intro, and yes, a very proud Spurs fan. So, but we'll park that for now. So, I've always been passionate about the art of selling, and it's probably fair to say I'm a bit of a data geek. And so, when we first started in business with Ebsta, we decided to set out to address a real problem in the market, which is that before you can do anything really cool with data, you need to capture it in the first place. So our very first product solved some of the challenges that customers have with the quality and consistency of data inside Salesforce. Today, we call that product Relationship Intelligence, and effectively it's an AI bot that takes responsibility for keeping Salesforce clean and up to date over time. And when we onboard our customers, we go back 1, 2, or 3 years through their historical traffic. Also, we connect to things like their mail servers, their calendars, their phone systems. And we trawl through all of that history and use it to fix the historical dirty data on opportunities that have closed, won, and lost in the past. So by putting AI in place to take responsibility for keeping Salesforce clean and up to date, suddenly the sales reps can lean into the system of record, knowing that it's always consistent, it's always up to date, and it holds all of the information on every prospect and every customer they've ever engaged with. So that was the kind of first step. Once we got to a point where we were responsible for keeping Salesforce clean and up to date, suddenly it became apparent where opportunities that had more engagement, that had more, that were more multi-threaded, had more stakeholders actively involved, were the ones that were closing more than the deals that had less engagement. So we developed what we call our engagement score, or the relationship score. And that score that scores every relationship a business has out of 100, trends up and down over time. And we then started using that engagement score to identify risks in the live pipeline. So that took us down a journey of what we now call revenue intelligence, which helps customers understand where the risks are in their live pipeline and use that to deliver a much more accurate forecast and help the reps to kind of course correct.
One, I love this. And let me tell you why. Obviously, as someone who's worked both in sales at a large organizations where the Salesforce of the world and those technologies, and have utilized HubSpot from both a marketing and a sales point of view, it gets messy in there. And I think that's it. And it has nothing to do with those tools, which are incredibly useful. It gets messy because sales professionals move around, focuses change, products change, and the data that's in there, getting better understanding of how to maximize these tools, which is what you seem to have driven through, is a brilliant idea. I want to ask the question, and that is, as people are integrating with these tools and you're starting to see these trends, do these trends are they very specific to the organizations that you're working with based on their behavior? Or are there trends that cross-pollinate across all the different clients, I guess, that Ebsta works with to understand ways to forecast and utilize that information to help the sales teams?
Well, first, it's worth understanding we only work with B2B organizations. And we live in a world where even in 2024, in B2B sales, relationships still drive revenue. And so the fundamental principles of the data points that we capture, things like how multi-threaded we are, how engaged you are with different stakeholders at every stage of the sales cycle, how well we're qualifying our customers through our discovery calls, through to time we spend in stage when we win versus when we lose. All of these are really useful data points. Now, what those data points are for your organization, or more specifically for individual revenue streams within your organization, may well differ. So, so what we try and do is, before we can judge as to where the customers need to focus their energies on what they need to do to course correct and get more of their reps hitting quota, which is ultimately what we're all here for. The first thing we need to do is, as I say, firstly, fix that historical data. And then within 7 days of a customer being fully connected to our platform, we deliver back what we call our insight report, which is effectively an audit of the last 4 quarters. And it does everything from telling us, a leaderboard of the AEs as to how they're performing, how many days they should be spending in stage, which personas they should be engaging with, how much engagement is required at every stage of the sales cycle, what are the objections we should be looking for, how well are we qualifying the deals from the past, what's really, and all of these data points effectively allow us to help the customer understand what they need to focus on. Because we can deliver them the best data in the world and then use that data to deliver fantastic insights. But ultimately, within our organizations, if there is a big delta between our top and bottom performers, we're still going to need to go through a process of change. And frankly, we're not a change agent. So that's why we work really closely with partners and companies' internal RevOps teams to help them to understand and prioritize what they need to change.
Who competes with Ebsta?
So a lot of people would consider Ebsta as the kind of SMB mid-market version of Clary. So we know that Clary is a phenomenal product and a great tool, but sometimes, certainly for larger organizations, you can be 18 months into a Clary implementation and still doing onboarding and activation. It's just a very big platform to engage with. With Ebsta, we guarantee to get customers fully live within 30 days. And we target customers that are perhaps smaller than the Clary customers. So we have an SMB play for customers using HubSpot as their CRM, and we have a mid-market play for customers using Salesforce as their CRM. So we can get customers implemented and activated within that 30-day period, and that's really kind of historically who we've competed with. Now, more recently, we've seen companies like Gong, who were famous for their kind of conversation intelligence technology, who historically we always just plugged into, because for us, we're interested in all the signals that influence revenue. So if you've got someone doing your call recording, great, we'll plug into that and we'll do all the historical analysis and tell you historically how well you qualified customers that close won or close lost, because usually it has a big influence. Once Gong started doing some forecasting features, I don't think they're anywhere near as comprehensive as where we sit. But once they started to step into that space, not only can we work with customers using Gong as their call recorder, but we now have our own what we call call intelligence products, and so you can use us for kind of the whole suite.
I've always wanted to ask this question to people that provide services for larger platforms and certain customers. Obviously, Salesforce and HubSpot create platforms that people are, and probably, I don't know what the percentage is of the CRM systems and B2B businesses, but it is a very high percentage that those two companies are the ones that cover it. And I always say to myself, well, why don't these companies do these specific pieces that your company does? And I learned, a lot of people like to focus on one lane or another. And I ask this question very specifically for those that don't have these types of platform. Has there been looks by Ebsta to try to see, well, where else they can go work with? Or is it just, this is where the money is. We're going to go here and focus on that. I'd like to hear from a business planning point and Ebsta trying its own pipeline and seeing the trends that are out there. Are there other technologies and trends that you're looking at?
Well, look, first of all, different platforms represent different opportunities for us. So, for example, I think we're the only plug and play revenue intelligence platform, kind of forecasting and pipeline inspection solution available for HubSpot CRM. So if you're, we've even got to a point now where Clary have started introducing customers that are using HubSpot as their CRM to us, because I believe we're the only player in the park that does that. So average deal values for us are smaller for the HubSpot customer base, but we've got a beautiful kind of free trial experience for HubSpot customers, and it's very plug and play. In the Salesforce world, there's a lot more competition, including Salesforce themselves, that do pieces of the puzzle. But what we find is that the people like Salesforce will do just enough to be able to tick a box and say they cover that part of the puzzle. But of course, as experts in that space, we often see companies that have chosen to go down the Salesforce route to start with, but perhaps aren't getting the outcome that they're aiming for. Because ultimately, we've all spent so much money on so many front office technologies. Not necessarily just Salesforce or HubSpot, but all of the other tools, the outreaches, the sales lofts, the gongs, and all of the other tools out there. And still 4 out of 5 reps are missing quota. Yeah. So we need to find a different way. And this kind of much more data-driven approach is revolutionary. When you sit down with your B and C players and show them, look, when we've got 3 stakeholders actively involved in our sales process, we win 15% of the time. But when we have 6, we win 37% of the time. Suddenly the penny starts to drop. Yep. Or you show them, look, if we get the finance persona actively involved 2 stages earlier, our win rates are 4 times higher. And when you start showing it to them in picture format, ultimately this drive to win helps them to actually follow that behavior. And I suppose my view is that we spend far too much time trying to teach our AEs how to do things that ultimately the AI can do a whole lot better than they can. Yeah. And we don't invest enough time teaching them the things that the AI doesn't do very well, right? Building relationships, building trust, dealing with objections, business case building and closing. These are things that only the AEs can do. And still they're spending far too much of their time doing admin that they're not very good at anyway. And actually the AI can do it so much better. And the consequences of that used to be, well, we're spending lots of money on people to do something they're not very good at. Now the impact of that is that our insights, our analytics, our reporting now is inconsistent because it relies on what the reps are putting in manually. Yeah. And if in 2024 you're still relying on data that's being populated by humans instead of machines, you need to step up and you need to let the AI do what it's good at.
I want to dive a little bit into Ebsta and understand the growth that you have had as a leader. Obviously, as I mentioned at the top of the show, 12 years going through and on. Help the listeners understand the growth of the size of your organization, what it started and where it is today, and where you want it to go.
So, rightly or wrongly, I made the decision to keep the business bootstrapped, and so we've always been there or thereabouts cash neutral as a business, and try and grow as fast as we can. Our view has always been that if the product's good, then people will buy it, and if they'll buy it, then we can grow that way. So, perhaps an unpopular view, and there's certainly been days over the last 12 years where I would have decided to do things differently, but. We live and die by that sword, and it keeps us very focused. I'm blessed with an amazing team around me. We have just over 400 customers now on our platform. We are almost all of us are based in the UK. We're trying to work out over half our customers are in North America, so there is that challenge, and we need to work out the next phase of our growth will come in establishing some sort of base in North America. At the moment, we're servicing all those customers from London. And our goals for the business are relatively modest. We're not here to build a unicorn. What we want to do is be known for being the very best technology our customers can take advantage of to help them increase the number of reps hitting quota. So we have 3 brand guarantees that we launched last week. So this is the first time I'm saying them out loud, but here we go. So brand guarantee number 1 is that we will now guarantee that we can increase quota attainment across the reps in a sales team within the first 6 months. We'll guarantee that we'll get your forecast within 10% accuracy, and we'll guarantee to get you live in 30 days. So those are that's our big push for this year.
I like it. And I was going to say, I'm assuming that Ebsta drinks its own Kool-Aid. in the sense that obviously, are you utilizing your technology as your own growth for your own pieces? And how has that worked? Has it been almost a testing ground for a lot of the work that you do?
Yeah, and as I say, we're blessed with some very well engaged customers. Once companies start to see how influential the insights can be on win rates and time to close, it becomes quite addictive. Imagine going from having a black and white television to color. You're never going to turn it off. And what's interesting is marketing departments have been data driven now for well over a decade. But sales teams are still only waking up to the power of being much more of consistency and being data driven. And when you start showing these companies what they need to do to have a big influence, and most importantly, how fast you can have a change within a business, we normally see within the first 3 months the number of reps hitting quota doubles. And that's not because we've got some super secret source. It's purely that analysis of once you fix that historical data and do the analysis and understand the benchmarks, you can use those benchmarks to prompt the B and C players as to what they should be doing at every stage of the sales cycle. And suddenly it becomes very, very simple. So consistency is absolutely the key. Using AI to take away the heavy lifting is really important. And then driving growth by really being ruthless about your qualifying process.
Before I go down a little bit more of learn more about Guy Rubin, the name Ebsta. What is the significance of it, and does it stand for something, or how did that come to be, or is it something I'm supposed to know and it just has run over my head? What does Ebsta stand for?
No, I'm pleased you asked. A lot of people have that in their head, but they don't ask the question. So it comes from the ebb and flow of sales data. That's kind of where the name came from. So we take a feed of all of the sales data across an organization from source. So and we use that to create benchmarks and identify risk. And that's kind of our whole bag is all about the ebb and flow of sales data within an organization. So that's where the name came from.
Got it. I like it. We one time had that question about a company, and then we learned to go, it was the only name that was available with the .com extension. And sometimes that happens. So, but that's it. But Ebsta, very cool. All right. I'd love to learn a little bit more about you, Guy. And this has to do with, I guess, you as a leader. Look, congratulations. 12 plus years, successful business platform that's integrating at the B2B level. Trust me, entrepreneurs who listen to this show or other technology leaders are looking at this and saying, wow, great business, very niche, riches in the niches, all of that stuff, which means on most days you're thriving. But Guy, we know we all have those days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders and we're a little off our game. When you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek, or maybe which individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Well, I'm blessed to have I suppose a network of support advisors around me. So I'm a huge fan of community, and I've taken an active role in the Pavilion community over the last kind of 18 months or so. So I joined as a member like everybody else. I'm now the CEO ambassador for the Pavilion community. And I just get a huge amount of value spending quality time with people, with like-minded people who are all open to learning. And we use the dinners and the virtual events and the in-person events to really sharpen our skills, and the opportunity to sit with CEOs that perhaps are a little bit further ahead of you and ask and raise the latest challenges that you're dealing with is always very useful. And so I would encourage all of your listeners to think about joining a community. It doesn't have to be Pavilion. I personally find it really helpful. And for what it's worth, I don't get paid. I pay my subscription fees like everybody else. I'm just a really big fan of community. So surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, that are on that journey of learning, who want to give before they receive, and find your tribe, right? Find your tribe of people that you can lean into. And within Pavilion, we've got the usual kind of Slack channels and in-person events and dinners. We have monthly meetings with your cohort of all the of other CEOs, in my case, because I'm a CEO, that are in a similar kind of stage of the business. And then they've just introduced something called Cabals, where you have a team of 4 or 5 CEOs that we meet every week, and we all hold each other accountable. So for me, that's become transformational.
As someone that focuses my entire career about connections and relationships through conversations, I couldn't be more excited about that, and glad that someone who's been on this program features that aspect of it, which is a really cool thing, because some do it and don't bring that up at the top of the thing that helps them. So thank you, Guy, for sharing that, and very cool. Everyone, we'll check all the links and everything. And by the way, we'll give you a plug section right now. I want you to share with the listeners all the places people can learn about you, obviously learn about Ebsta, places they need to go, things they need to know about. We got your guarantees of what's coming up, your new brand, 3 brand guarantees, but I'd love to hear more about how they can learn more about you. Share it. The floor is yours.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Right, so all of your listeners and subscribers should download the free 2024 B2B Sales Benchmark Report. We analyze $57 billion worth of pipeline, looking at literally millions of opportunities, and looking at all the signals that influence revenue. We actually just did, the report went live in January, and then I've just done an update to it for the first 6 months of the year. So really looking at 4.2 million opportunities and all of the signals that led to close won and lost outcomes for those opportunities. The report's completely free. You can download it at ebsta.com. So that's probably a really good place to start. Anyone who wants to connect with me on LinkedIn to talk about any of these topics, I welcome that. And if you mention the podcast, I'll make sure I accept the invite. And always happy to help and contribute on that side. If you're a CEO or have a CEO that you think might benefit from the Pavilion community, once again, do reach out. I'm happy to share my personal experiences and make sure that they get introduced to the right people at Pavilion and take advantage of that as well. So that's everything, I suppose, from my side.
Spectacular. We also want to give a shout out to Paul Caffrey, who connected the two of us, who's been a guest on the show, has a great podcast show himself. For all of those sales enthusiasts out there, Paul's one of my favorite communicators on this topic. So let's continue to roll here and get back to Guy. So Guy Rubin, we're going to go down Fun Street. We call this the speakeasy pub crawl, if you would. We go to all the favorite spots that have to relate to you, all the stops along the way, or your favorite things. So we're going to start off with one of them. I don't know, judging by we're about the same generation here, I would love to know this question. Guy, do you have a favorite movie that you like to watch if it's on, or rewatch if it ever pops up, or one that's always been a classic of yours?
Oh wow, probably Goodfellas is would be my go-to. I must have watched it dozens and dozens of times over the years, and always find something new within it. So yeah, that's I'm a sucker for those types of movies. Also, anything with spaceships and all the crap. I love Starship Troopers. Bring it on, right?
Oh,
anything very light-hearted, something to take your mind off of all the craziness that we're dealing with in the world, is kind of where I live.
Of late, currently, is there a song that you love to listen to, or one that pumps you up?
I'm a big kind of Liam Gallagher fan, so Oasis and I suppose, as I say, I'm getting a little bit old now, so most of my playlists are of tracks from the past rather than current. But yeah, always listening to anything anything from Liam or from Oasis.
Perfect. Favorite food that's not a dessert?
Steak. Big meat eater in our family. So I'll be on the barbecue this afternoon. In fact, it's the Ebsta annual barbecue this afternoon. So we've got everyone coming to the house, and I'll be on the barbecue later.
I like it. A favorite dessert?
Favorite dessert? Cherry pie.
All right. Very American. That answer. An activity you wish you did more of?
I'm a big winter sports fan, so I try and get as many ski trips in as I can. I will say that Pavilion are running 2 ski trips next year for CEOs, so I'll be at both of those.
An activity you wish you did less of?
I suppose trying to be more present. So we spend a lot of time worrying about things that never actually happen. So trying to. My brain goes crazy trying to think of every variable and every scenario, and 98% of them never happen anyway. So trying to stay present and do less worrying is probably on that list.
A new activity that you recently tried that you like so much you want to let everybody else to know that they should try it?
I've recently taken up boxing. It's a great sport. You don't actually have to get punched in the face to do it. It's great cardio, and it's also really good way of just engaging with good people, and it builds up a bit of strength as well.
We're recording this episode in late July 2024, and I'm bringing this note up as a time marker here. Obviously, you can tell by the accent guy and where he says he's in the UK, which means he is a big fan of the Three Lions, which is Britain's national team. So I ask this question. If Declan Rice or Bukayo Saka scores a goal for your country, even though they play for Arsenal, what is going on between your ears, Guy, when that goal happens for your country, but it doesn't necessarily hit your heartstrings because they are from the other team?
Well, once you put on an England shirt, then I'm a fan, right? So, I was avidly following. We got to the finals of the Euros. Yes. Didn't quite manage to win it, but frankly, I do watch a lot of sport. So while I might not be an Arsenal fan, I can appreciate the expertise and the talent.
Yes, as we can of the former Tottenham great Harry Kane, who is now in Germany making a ridiculous amount of money. But that's what happens. And on that note, by the way, Spain was unbelievable. It was a Spanish day, right? Because on that day, Spain won the World Cup. Alcaraz won Wimbledon. And Sergio Garcia won a golf event that day. It was a very big Spanish day that day. So just for all those Spaniards out there got to appreciate it, everyone in Great Britain was very upset. But that's not important right now. Truly a pleasure. Guy Rubin, everybody check it out. Ebsta, the revenue intelligence platform for Salesforce and HubSpot customers. This is a great idea, great platform in your B2B world. If you need it, he gave all the contact info where it is. We will put it in the show notes. Truly a pleasure to have you come on. A guy who's obsessed with the tech and the sales side. Guy, great to have you.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you to your community.
Absolutely. To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep moving onward and upward, and remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.